Beautiful. And we're going to move 3 feet over to your dear husband, Sriman Radhanatha Prabhu. And for those of you that don't know this beautiful gentleman, he has been the temple president in Hawaii. I think got a lot of personal association, hosted Gurudev. Gurudev used to go to Hawaii for weeks, months on end on writing, on his writing mission. So I'm very excited to hear Prabhu's Pushpanjali. Don't want to take any time from you, Prabhu, so I'm going to hand over to you straight away. Please share your memories and your realizations in connection with Srila Gurudev. Warm welcome. Howdy, Bob.
Thank you, Shodananda Prabhu. And thank you for being the catalyst for this wonderful Zoom Zoom outlet that so many of us are depending on for Sangha. You know, now that this pandemic doesn't go away, this is our kind of our connection with our Sangha, and you've been the catalyst, and I'm sure Srila Gurudev is very pleased with your service. And I can see by your enthusiasm that you're getting so much mercy from Gurudev and all the Vaishnavas around the world. I look at this screen and I just see names of so many wonderful devotees who are around the world. You know, dear devotees, dear disciples of Srila Gurudev, and who are taking advantage of this Sangha, Zoom Sangha. So thank you. I want to thank you, and plus thank all the Vaishnavas. Vanchakalpatarubhischa kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Oma jnanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militang jena tasmai Sri Gurave namaha. So I just want to offer my respectful obeisances unto the beloved spiritual master, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad, Ashtotara Satasi Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Gosvami, Maharaja, who has plucked me out of this ocean of material suffering and bestowed his merciful glance upon me as well as so many others around the world. And of course, we are eternally indebted to our Gurudev for saving us, for blessing us and saving us and continually inspiring us in bhakti. Srila Gurudev, as we all know, he's a true bona fide spiritual master of the highest order, eternal associate of Sri Radha and Govinda, as well as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he came with the same mission as the Lord, as the same mission as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to save all jivas in this world. And Srila Gurudev, one thing I wanted to speak on a few things. One was sambandha, relationship, how what Guru comes to give is relationship. He comes to be that via medium between Bhagavan Sri Krishna and the conditioned jiva. Krishna comes, you know, every once in a day of Brahma to perform his leelas and pastimes in this world for the auspiciousness of this world and for the to save all fallen souls. And then he also not only comes himself from time to time, but he also sends his pure devotees, his eternal associates, who come to this world and make relationship with the fallen souls. So Srila Gurudev came to this world and he performed the pastimes of being a sadhaka, taking initiation from his beloved spiritual master, Nityalila Pravishta Om Vishnu Pada Stotra Satashi Shimachila Bhakti Pragyan Kesha Goswami Maharaj, and set the example and showed the example of being a perfect disciple. He showed the example of being, what is a perfect shishya, a perfect disciple. of a bona fide spiritual master who received all the mercy of his Gurudev. And then he continued on the legacy of his spiritual master, the legacy of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the legacy of all of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associates. And he came. And then in 1996, we know it was predicted by Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj that there would be an acharya who would travel the world and bestow the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who would spread this Prem Dharma, who would continue the legacy of Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So Srila Gurudev did just that, and he made so many relationships. And I was thinking about my personal relationship with Srila Gurudev, and how he, in my personal contact with him, in my personal interactions that I would have with him, he was always trying to bring me closer. He was always interacting with me to bring me closer to him. And as a stubborn, conditioned soul who's attached to the so-called pleasures of this world, and who's attached to just his, material conditioning that we all have, there was like something in me that would always be very hesitant to just fully just take the mercy that he was trying to give. And but even though I was hesitant, and even though I was refusing, he was always reaching out with so much love. And I can remember in my very first meetings with him, he showed so much kindness and mercy. I was introduced to him personally when I first met him, even though I had known about Gurudev since the 80s. After hearing his kirtan, we had got a cassette tape of his kirtan back in the early 80s in LA, and we all fell in love with him. Everyone who heard it, including many of the stalwart Vaishnavas like Vrindavan Vilasini, Mother Karta, so many. I had made copies of his kirtan tapes, cassette tape that we got from Pushpadanta Prabhu. So we had heard his voice then, and we all fell in love with him. But then when I finally got to meet Srila Gurudev, who was in Hawaii, we found out that he was in Hawaii, and we went to go see him at Vrindavan Prabhu's house on the North Shore. And Shamarani introduced us. And I remember the very first thing he said to me, he looked at me after Shamarani introduced me, and he looked at me very deeply. Like Gurudev used to say, I can see your lifetimes, hundreds of lifetimes, just by looking at your forehead. So Gurudev looked at me very deeply, and he said, I will help you. Come tomorrow at 8 o'clock, I will help you. So this is what Sri Guru does. This is what Sri Gurudev is constantly doing. He's constantly bringing us closer to him. He's helping us because we are conditioned souls. We have so many lifetimes of conditioning, material conditioning, and it's very difficult. We all know. We all want to surrender. But our conditioning keeps us from fully surrendering, from fully having complete faith, like the definition of faith, Shraddha, Vishvas, having complete faith in everything that Gurudev has told us, and everything that Gurudev has given us, so many instructions that Gurudev has given us. So we are so conditioned, but Gurudev is constantly there helping us, and helping us to become closer to Krishna. I was just listening to one of these beautiful little recordings that appear on Facebook, and Gurudev was talking about having complete faith in the mantras that are given by Gurudev. And Gurudev, he's given us mantra, he's given us Harinam Maha Mantra, he's given us Gopal Mantra, he's given us all our Gayatri mantras. And Gurudev said in this little recording, it's a Hindi recording that was translated, it was subtitled in English. And he said, we should have complete faith, Vishvas, firm conviction in these mantras, and understand that within these mantras, one can achieve all perfection. So we know that the mantras that Guru gives us is non-different from Guru. So if a disciple has complete faith in those mantras that are given by Sri Gurudev, he can get full experience of Gurudev within those mantras. We should have faith in this. And if we chant our mantras with this faith, we will see that that we can have Gurudev's association even today. That as we sit, as we perform our bhajan, and we do as Gurudev has taught us, we can get Gurudev's association. And we should never think that Gurudev has left us. Gurudev will never leave us. He will never leave us. In fact, he told when he was there with Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, and Prabhupada told Gurudev, you should say something to my disciples. And Gurudev stood up and said, you should not think that your Gurudev is leaving. He is transcendental personality, and you should have firm faith that he is always going to help you. So Gurudev was instructing Prabhupada's disciples. And so Gurudev has also instructed us that we should have complete faith that Gurudev is always present. He's always present in the heart to help his devotee, his disciple, and he's also present within the mantras that's given. So another thing I wanted to say was some of the philosophy that Srila Gurudev has given us. So many gems that he's highlighted within our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. Our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy is very special. Of all the philosophy that's within the Vedas, it's stated in that one Dashmula shloka that Amnaya Praha, that those Vedas that have been accepted by our Guru Parampara, this is Amnaya, this is what we accept. That Vedas that has been coming through our Guru Parampara. So out of all of this, Gurudev has specifically, he is specifically, well, we know Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has put the ocean within a small bottle through this Dashmula Tattva. And Gurudev has also, in his preaching around the world, he has also always specified certain teachings. And one of the shlokas that I remember so many times Gurudev would teach us was that verse by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Aradyo Bhagavan Brajeshasthanayat Tadhama Brindavanam Ramya Kichir Upasanam Brajabadu Vargena Sankalpitaha. I think this is it. Anyway, we know this shloka where it's stating that our most worshipable deity is Bhagavan Brajenda Nandana Shri Krishna, that Krishna who's sports in Vrindavan. And just as much as Brajenda Nandana Shri Krishna is worshipable, so also is his Dham, his Vrindavan Dham. And that method of worship that we take as topmost is that mood of worship is of the Braja Gopis. Their mood of worship where they gave up everything. They are the perfect examples of Anya Vilashita Shunyam, Jnana Karma Ranavritam. That verse also that Srila Gurudev would specifically preach everywhere. What is pure bhakti? He called his organization the Pure Bhakti Society, because there's many types of bhakti. There's many types of devotion. But what was that devotion that Gurudev wanted us to imbibe within us? That type of devotion that can control Krishna. That type of devotion that is in the hearts of the Brajabasis. So he taught that these gopis, these Brajavadus, these gopis of Vrindavan, they were the perfect example of giving up everything. of giving up all types of dharmas and fully surrendering to Sri Krishna. So they are the example. And what is the praman? Srimad Bhagavatam. We know everywhere Srila Gurudev went, he would preach from Srimad Bhagavatam. We know he would come every year to New Braj, to Badger Festival, and he would have his Bhagavatam book there, and every day before his class, he would do puja. We would sing Jaya Jaya Radha Krishna Jugala Milan, and he would worship with Tulsi, his Srimad Bhagavatam, and then he would speak from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is Amala, this is the spotless teachings that proclaim, that show that the gopis' worship is the highest. We know from Srimad Bhagavatam that Krishna said, when the gopis left everything and went to perform ras with Krishna, Krishna said that your service is unparalleled and I cannot repay you at all. So he taught himself that the gopis' mood of worship is the highest. And of course, of all the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the emblem of spotless devotion. And we know Srila Gurudev, wherever he went, he glorified Srimati Radhika in the highest way. He would even go so far as to say that Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, is Nirvishesh Brahm, that he is zero without Srimati Radhika, which is hard for many to believe, because we know, but this was the mood of Gurudev, that he would say that Krishna is nothing without Srimati Radhika. So the Srimad Bhagavatam teaches this, teaches that this Srimad Bhagavatam, that Srimati Radhika's worship is the highest. And the last part of the verse says that we don't accept any other philosophy, that we hold this type of philosophy as the highest. So this was Srila Gurudev's speciality, that he emphasized what is pure bhakti. And he said that I want all my disciples to know this verse, these verses, Anyabhilashita Shunyam, the Dash Mula Tattva, Arajo Bhagavan Brajeshasthanaya, that he wanted us to know this. What is the speciality of Gurudev's philosophy? Another thing Srila Gurudev taught us and emphasized that wherever he went, he would perform Giriraj Puja. He would perform Govardhan Anakut, and he taught us the speciality of Giriraj. And he taught us how he brought out these shlokas from Srimad Bhagavatam. We're describing is that of all the servants of Hari, there are many servants of Hari, and some are brought out in scripture. Maharaja Yudhishthir, he is considered Haridas. Also, who was the other Haridas? One other Haridas, I can't think of now, but that Giriraj Govardhan is Haridasa Varya. He is the topmost servant of Hari because he is serving Krishna in so many ways. And he performs so many nice places for Radha and Krishna to perform Leela. So Gurudev, every year he would come to Badger, he would perform Govardhan Anakut, and he would all engage us. He would give us, by him performing this Govardhan Anakut, he would bring us in to the realm, into the society of Brajabasis. He helped us to think that we are also Brajabasi, that is our ultimate goal, is to become a Brajabasi. So in the mood that he would perform Govardhan Anakut, we would all feel like, oh, we're Brajabasis, we are helping Nanda Maharaj, we are helping Mother Yashoda to do something nice for the pleasure of Krishna. And everywhere, even in Hawaii, he would perform. Every year he would come to Hawaii and we'd have a festival and he would introduce this Govardhan. We would perform Govardhan Anakut festival. So this is another speciality of Srila Gurudev. Just like Srila Prabhupada, wherever he would go, he would perform the Ratha Yatra festival. And this was, he would show, he would bring Rath Yatra to all the major cities in the world and engage everyone in Harinam Sankirtan. And Gurudev, he would bring us into the kunjas of Giriraj. And he even would say, I don't want you, because we know he taught us that Giriraj can fulfill all desires. He would even say to us, he said, there may be a time even when Lakshmi Devi will have to beg, but anyone who offers even 1 grain of rice to Giriraj Govardhan, he will never have to beg. So he would bring us into that intimate circle. And we would all feel like we were in Braj, and under his guidance, and with his mood, he would pray. He would say, don't pray to Giriraj, because Giriraj will fulfill all desires, but I will pray for you. I will pray that we would always be, that life after life, we will always be near, very near Govardhan. We will be very near and close to Giriraj Govardhan. So Gurudev, he has given us the greatest gift. And what is the greatest gift? What is the greatest wealth? The greatest wealth is teaching us that love for Krishna is the highest. That love, that pure bhakti, which controls even Bhagavan. And he emphasized also the singing of, even in ISKCON, we would sing Damodar Ashtakam, but he would show how through love, Mother Yashoda was able to bind Krishna. So he wants us to develop this type of love where we can control Krishna. We know only pure devotion can do this, but this is what Srila Gurudev wants for us. This is his gift, that he wants all his disciples to develop this type of love. This is our goal. One of the things I want to say, I might have said this in the last time I spoke, but we were in, Gurudev was leaving Hawaii. We were all at the airport to see him off. And Nischintya, I think it was Nischintya, Prabhu, who asked Gurudev, who is going to be your successor when you leave? And there was maybe 30 of us at the airport seeing him off, and Gurudev looked at all of us. You know how Gurudev would do that eye scan thing where he would just like scan at the room. And then he said, all of you, I want all of you to become Bhakti Vedantas. He said, I did not come here to create disciples. I came here to create gurus. So this is our Gurudev. He didn't come to make disciples. He came to make gurus. He wanted each and every one of his disciples to become qualified to develop the highest level of praying through different successions, which he was very fond of saying, Sneha, Man, Pranaya, Rag, Anurag, Bhav, Mahabhav. He was teaching us the different levels of praying, and he wanted us to develop our bhakti. He wanted us to develop our bhakti. One of the things I want to say is that Srila Gurudev, I might have said this one also the last time I spoke, but since now it's Christmas time, we're celebrating Christmas. We have our Christmas tree, and just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to all the Vaishnavas, and please be kind upon us, and please give us your blessings. We are very fallen souls, and so we are asking your blessings during these nice holidays time. So Gurudev, he arrived one day in Hawaii on Christmas Day. We were there greeting Gurudev at the airport in Hawaii. And so Gurudev arrives, he comes off the plane, big white beard, full beard, all bundled up in his chatters. And the very first thing that Srila Gurudev said to all of us was, Merry Christmas. And it was just so amazing, because I didn't expect that from Gurudev, but we were joking before, and we were, that famous Christmas song, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pat on town. Santa Claus. He knows when you are sleeping. He knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good. So be good for goodness sake. So that is Gurudev. He knows our hearts. And I remember Gurudev would always, before his classes, he would quote that verse. Yam pravrjantam anupetim apetya kritvam dvapayano virahakatara ajuhava putreti tanmayataya taravo benedus tam sarva bhuta hridayam munim anatosmi. That it's a pranam mantra to Srila Shukadeva Goswami, where he's saying, Shukadev, he knows the hearts of all living entities. And this was Gurudev's speciality. He would enter the heart. He has entered the heart of each one of his disciples. And he is inspiring us if we just simply pray to Srila Gurudev and fall at his feet and say, Gurudev, please inspire me. Please don't forget me. Please always help me to advance in bhakti. And Gurudev is always there. This is our amazing Srila Gurudev. He is there to always inspire us and guide us and help us. And we are very fortunate. And I think I'm going to end there, Prabhu. I hope that's good.
It's absolutely astounding, Prabhu. Radhanatha Prabhu. It's really astounding. I feel like Kasturi Didi took us to kind of the flagpoles of the inauguration of the Tirabhav, but I think you've taken us through the flagpole and you've actually started the program, because quite interestingly, and this so happens so much, there's so much magic in Krishna consciousness. Tomorrow morning, we're meant to be starting with Manjari Didi from Hawaii. Actually, I'm going to ask Nihari if he can get in touch with her. And I'm worried as to whether she knows she's on first. As a backup, I suddenly thought if there's, because lines of communication can get a bit lengthened, I thought, well, if she doesn't show, I'm going to have to do half an hour, and prepare literally now to speak tomorrow morning. And I thought, well, the thing to prepare on is, because it's such a Vani, we're not really doing any Vapu for the next 3 days. It's all going through the incredible Vani of Gurudev. And you've sort of already given me a really great proportion of my content for tomorrow morning, because your rendition, your panoply, your panorama of covering so many aspects of Gurudev's Vani, because we've got 28 speakers speaking on 17 different Vanis over 3 days. And you covered a great deal of that in your synopsis. It was absolutely beautiful. And I wanted just to relish a couple of things. There's many things I could say, but aside from my battery about to run out, and we have Kirtan that's late here, I'll just keep it quite short. When you talked about Sambandha, that was very close to my heart. And I just wanted to share a definition that I got from 2 Sanskrit scholars on Sambandha, which I think adds some sweetness to what you said, is that the bandha is the rope that ties 2 vastus, 2 things together. But the sun is to bind it together so that it's as close as you can possibly get without it ever merging. So it's 2 personalities coming together so close to be of one heart. So if you think about it, it's like he's binding us to us, and then he's bound to Rupa Goswami, he's bound to Radhanatha Goswami, Rupa Goswami, all of Prabhupada, all the way to our Swamini, Radharani. So this kind of incredible yoke we have through that Sambandha being of one heart, and he's our connection to Parampara, I think really brings out some more flavor from what you said. And also the other thing is, one of the Vanis, actually it's not a Vani that we're focusing on the next 3 days, but I think it will come out, and you kind of alluded to it without being explicit about it, was that Gurudev was so much about Arta Pravritti more than Anartha Nivritti. And this came out through actually a few of our speakers today. He will take away our anarthas naturally. Anartha Nivritti being the cleaning of the unwanted things in our heart. If we can put into the class the Harikatha, the sadhana, the association, the sadhu sangha, the faith in Gurudev, if we go for the positive, the negative, he'll take away naturally from us. So I really appreciate such a beautiful, I feel like you've taken us through the flagpoles, and we've almost just started the Tirabhav perfectly. By Krishna's arrangement, you're the last speaker today that takes us into that Tirabhav tomorrow. And